didn't dawdle too long. So we start off a really great conversation, myself and Don of D.O.N.D Photos, Don of a New Day Photos, amazing photographer who's based in New York, just waiting for him to request to log back on and waiting for everybody else to come back and join the conversation. So we had a lengthy discussion about the statute of limitations on dating your friend's ex. And I have a bunch of people joining in. Hello, welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello. For those of you who were here before, welcome back. For those of you who are just joining on, what's going on? Somebody's requesting to be in my live, sir. I don't know who you is, and I am not accepting a chat request unless it's been pre-scheduled, and the only person that I have scheduled to talk to tonight is Don. Mr. Carolina King, what's going on? Nice to see you. Miss S. Marie, welcome back. Mr. Shump Dog 28, what's going on? Mr. Don D, come request me, please. Oh, there we go. Okay. And so the second part of the discussion, normally I run like an hour, but I find like when I have guests, the conversations get really long and they get really deep, and I love the interaction, the banter sort of with everybody on the whole. So the other topic that we're supposed to talk about is the cause of so many relationships in 2019 falling apart at such a rapid rate. Mr. Broadway, nice to see you. Craze driver, what's going on? So I feel like for some strange reason, 2019 is an epic year of relationships coming and going in the blink of an eye. Like, I'm looking on social media and one day somebody's dating such and such, and 3 weeks later they're not together anymore. All the pictures are taken down. They don't speak this person's name. Them not follow the person not follow them. You know what I mean? It's just, and then a couple months later, they're dating somebody else. New pictures are up. They're so in love. A month later, they're not dating that person. And it's just this cycle. And it's not like one or two people. It's alarming to me how frequently I see these situations where these relationships they're like bad startup companies. Like, people haven't taken the time to do their research. People haven't taken the time to properly invest. And they have these startup companies that a month later fold. I feel like these relationships are like that. Am I like crazy in thinking that that's happening?
No.
Uh-oh, we froze.
You got me? Okay. Coming from a person who's been in 3 different relationships this year.
Hold on a second. Here, hi, sir. Wheel that back, please. What?
Yeah, I've been in like I've been 3 different relationships this year.
Wow. And one of them wasn't me. No, I'm just joking.
Listen. Yeah, I think sometimes one of the main things is people are not, like, I think in a relationship you have to have a giver and a taker, right? And I think a lot of people are jumping in relationships and both being, takers and not jumping into the right situation for them. I know from personal experience, one of the issues I had was me not taking the time to get to know the person before I put a title on something. I think you gotta take the time and get to know someone before you jump into something with them or jump into having a title.
I'm gonna have an asshole moment. You had 3 situations where you didn't take time before you put a title. How many situations do you, like, the saying, once bitten, twice shy? So if the first time you rushed and said, oh my God, this is my girlfriend, this is wifey, this is whatever, and then a couple of months later that fizzled out and died, would you not?
Okay, hold on, wait. See, it goes deeper. Because one of those people I dated last year as well. So it was me going back into something, it was a bad move. Move forward,
not backwards.
Yes, you move forward, not backwards. I get it. So, earlier this year I was dating someone, very nice person, not going to say her name, obviously. I wasn't kind of over my ex from last year. So then me and that ex got back together, which obviously ended up me ending one to jump into another. And then that fizzled. I had a conversation with someone. Now I am single.
So what? usually really good at following storylines, and you lost me. Like you lost me.
Okay. Also, let me say this: a lot of my relationships are very short, aren't very um, like maybe a few. The longest relationship I've ever had was like probably 3 years, but that was maybe 10 years ago. Um, all my other relationships maybe 9 months to a year.
Why?
I don't know. Um, I don't know. I'm. People say I'm difficult at times. Maybe I'm a little demanding. I don't know.
You're
But
Scorpio, so yeah, I can understand that.
yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
saying that from the because I am a Scorpio, so I'm putting it out there. We can be a little difficult to deal with, but on the positive sides, when you have us, we are loyal to a fault.
Well, I mean, yes, yes and no. Yes, I mean, um, yes and no.
No.
um,
What do you mean? Yes, how? Where's the no? Where's the no fit in this? No?
Hold on. I don't think I've ever cheated on someone in my life. I don't think so, or at
Okay.
least not. Because I've never had sex with someone when I was in another relationship without that person knowing. Right? I'm sorry. Did that make sense? You got real
Yeah.
quiet.
So I'm just gonna say, crazed driver, don't be rude. He's not the wrong one to ask advice from. You can learn something from everybody. Don't make me you have words, sir.
No, no, and hold on. You might be 100% right. I am not the best when it comes to relationships. Ooh, not the best person probably to ask about things. But
I
we
don't
all
agree.
have years of life. We all
No,
have
I
years of life. We all have experiences. And I think that,
and there's something to be learned from.
yeah, of
It's
course. Like, learn from my
you don't even
mistakes,
have the
if
right or
anything.
the perfect answers. Your experiences are teaching. Period.
Yeah, of course. And I tell people all the time, oh, learn from my mistakes. If you hear me say something and it was crazy, it probably was. You probably should do better. Listen to it and be like, oh, you shouldn't do that. Yeah, you
Okay.
should.
So,
Yeah. And yeah, I'm not even gonna say what I was gonna say, but don't worry. Good.
no, no, say what you're gonna say.
Oh, I mean, because you're the only one who knows my stature, so I know that people will say stuff online that they would never say to me in general. So it's perfectly fine. Go ahead. I'm just saying.
Sorry, I don't know what I did. I touched something and I'm always touching stuff. I'm trying to see people are writing. I'm going to bed. You guys are awesome. Carolina King, thank you. Good night. So somebody wrote, every experience is a lesson, absolutely. And it shouldn't be said that because you haven't had successful relationships doesn't mean that you don't have something to teach. You do on the more on the side of the things of not to do. But I find like we live in an age where we focus so much on the negatives of like, don't do this in order to have a successful relationship, as opposed to you should be doing this to have a successful relationship. So then my question is, pick any one of the three. Any one of the three. I'm flabbergasted by the fact that there's three. Well, you and I are going to have a whole long conversation when this is done, but that's a whole other thing altogether because
Yes.
um and the funny thing is, like, I knew about one, I didn't know about the other two. But anyways, it's a whole other conversation. So pick
Yes.
any one of the three. What caused the breakup, and what do you think you could have done better to help your relationship be successful?
Um, it's so cliche, but communication is very important. Sitting there and not just having the conversation, but listening, and not listening to respond, but listening to hear what the person is saying. I think a lot
Comprehend.
of times we, you know, matter of fact, not even we. I'll put it all on me. A lot of times in situations, I'll listen to someone say something so that I can process a response on how to respond back to them,
Right.
and that's wrong. You should listen to hear what the person's saying, not to listen to be like, yo, not to be like, all right, let me try to cut this person down, right? Um, I guess another reason why I think some of our relationships kind of fizzled out were putting a title on it too soon. Now, I'm not sitting here saying date someone for for like 6 months to a year before you say if you're with that person, but not jumping into saying, you know, like, oh, I love you, and you know, not jumping into those things that are going to just, you know, kind of like, how I say, kind of put too much pressure on a relationship that hasn't even gotten there yet. Let me say that.
So, I recently had someone DM me to ask me for my advice about their situation, their relationship. Um, so in a very short period of time, I'm not going to give a specific time, but in a very short period of time, let's say less than 6 months, they've moved in together because there was a conversation that if they started dating, they'd move in together. So at less than 6 months, more than 3 months, but less than 6 months, they now live together.
Yeah.
Um, so now things are happening like, someone will message her and she'll grab her phone and look at the message and then turn her phone over. Or she's gotten a screen protector so that you can't look and see what the message is on her phone or even catch a glimpse of it. She'll do things like there's another couple that lives in the house. She walks around, in a nightie or nightgown or a dress with no underwear on and will like intentionally bend over at the counter when the other guy
Wow.
that lives in the house, like it's two couples that live in the house together. The person that messaged me and his girl, and then the girl's sister and the sister's boyfriend. So she'll do things like intentionally bend over in front of the boyfriend when the boyfriend is there. And so you would think that common sense would dictate that she wouldn't do these things, but he's had to have conversations with her. Or she's continuing to have flirtatious conversations with people on social media who are people that she used to entertain before. And she doesn't say, we can't have these conversations because I'm in a relationship and it's disrespectful. She'll kind of play it off like, oh, I don't know what you're getting so upset at, and put the onus on him to govern his emotions, right? And so my conversation with him, or the question I asked was, why were you in such a rush to move in? Like, people are not taking enough time to get to know one another, like really, really get to know one another. And fuck the titles and fuck the, oh, this is my boyfriend, this is my girlfriend, this is wifey, this is whatever. Everyone is in such a rush to fall in love. I'm not saying you, but just people on a whole, everyone is in such a rush to fall in love and to be in a relationship and to be somebody, to not be single, to not be alone, to have a status, to be able to post pictures, to be able to do all these things, that they're not actually taking time to learn enough about the person to know whether or not that's somebody that they actually want to give a title to. And sometimes it's not even like for guys, let's say, a lot of times I find it's not even them, it's the woman who's pushing to say, well, what am I to you? What are we? I will accept that responsibility all the live long day on the behalf of women, because I don't think I know a guy who's ever said to a girl, so what are we? What are we doing? What are we calling this? Like, what are we in? Where are we going? Are we in, like, whatever it is, right? It's usually, or learn themselves. It's usually, yes. S. Marie is right. People don't even know themselves, much less they're getting into relationships where they're not taking time to learn the other person. And everybody's in this great rush to, I don't know what. So it's like, for me, I call it the bubble of euphoria. Within the first 3 to 6 months of a relationship, it's the bubble of euphoria. That's when you're in love. Their shit doesn't stink.
Yes.
Everything they say is wonderful. You love seeing their face every day. They wake up beside you, with their morning breath, and it doesn't phase you. You
Wow. Okay.
know, you order something and they're eating off your plate and it doesn't bother you. Where under normal circumstances you don't like people taking food from. You know what I mean? So all the things that would bother you, because you're in the bubble of euphoria and you're in the love space,
Yeah.
you're not paying attention to any of those things, right?
Yeah. Honeymoon phase.
Right. So fast forward now from like 6 months to a year, when the bubble pops and you're actually starting to see the person and you're smelling that their shit stinks and you're smelling the bad breath in the morning time, and you notice that one time you're eating, they're eating off your plate even though they have their own food, and that's annoying as shit to you. Or when you're trying to talk to them, they're not really, like, all the things that you weren't paying attention to that were there in that first 6 months are now becoming like they're hitting you in the face one right after the other. And it's like now you're sitting up and paying attention.
Yeah. No. Of course. I mean, I think that like first, I mean, to go back to something you said, I have been the person to ask, "What are we?" So, you know, judge me if you want. I have been the person who's asked.
I love you. I'm not judging.
Um, I have been the person too, and like what I've realized, I guess, like you said, it's taking the time to get to know someone. It's weird because I'm at an age where, in my inner circle, I am the only person who doesn't have kids. I'm the only person who isn't married. So, like, in my inner circle, I'm that person. So,
Right.
I won't sit here in front. There's times I look at my goddaughter, who's like my best friend's child, and I'm like, damn, I should have one of these.
I
And
should
I
bring
might jump it, and I might have a conversation with someone who, you know, their Carfax are looking amazing. Like, you're like, oh
right.
wow, this person is a great person. Like, for example, the person I dealt with in the beginning of this year, she's amazing. You can have, like, I could have had a good life with her. It would have been good. I'm a person who believes in going after greatness. Like, I want it to be great. I want, when I wake up, like you said, you wake up, you look at that person, I want to have that euphoria feeling
All the time.
all the time.
Yes.
And, like, so that's why that situation ended, because at the end of the day, I knew it was good, but it wasn't great. I knew I could
But
have a good life with her.
I say all the time, because a person is a good person or a great person doesn't make them great for you. They're still great.
Exactly.
They're a wonderful woman, a wonderful man. They're fantastic. It just doesn't mean that they're fantastic for you.
Exactly. And, obviously the second situation I was in with my ex, that was a bad look. That was just, I was,
Exactly.
ooh, yeah, it was more me focusing on memories than off of logic, and like being like, oh, well, this is the reason why it didn't work. None of those things changed, so we're not going to work. Hence the
Right.
reason why I ended that situation, because I know, like, it's not going to go anywhere. Um, and the other person, cool person, just very young,
What does that mean?
very young. I mean, no, I'm talking about not just young in age. Pause. Let me not R. Kelly myself. It wasn't that young. Person, person is in their late 20s. Yeah,
But
I'm
you're
34.
you're not an old person. You're a young man as well. So
Yeah, yeah, but
you can practice that.
I mean, I have, like, whatever. Anyway, I digress. Um, that's another story for another day. But uh, they didn't have their life together enough to where my life was, so it didn't match.
Right.
So, you know, like, I have a decent job, I have some money in the bank. There's goals and things that I'm trying to achieve with, D.O.N.D photos, and, like buying my first, like buying a house, buying a condo, all these things that those are in my near future.
Yes.
And if the person isn't there, then, like, that's why that didn't work. Um, not to say anything, but there's always going to be, I guess, people around. And that's why, I've probably been in more relationships this year than other people have been in. But at the same time, I didn't take the time. And in my next situation that I'm working on or working towards, is taking the time. You have to get to know someone. You have to go through things with that person before you can
Yeah.
sit there and be like, oh, I love somebody or whatever, so on and so forth. They have to demonstrate loyalty, love, not just lust. And I think that's a big thing with this year. I know a lot of guys who got with some girl who was very, physically appealing. Let's say that. And threw everything at her and didn't know, you know, like, anything about her. Vice versa. Like, I've known some girls who dated some guys who were very pretty, very beautiful, like, guys. Pause.
Right.
But they was ain't shit niggas. but
Oh yeah.
but he gave her, he gave her some good whatever, and
Some good dick.
I wasn't gonna say all that, but gave him
Okay.
gave him, gave him a round or two, or
All
3 or 4,
right.
and she
I
was
need
stuck.
to.
And she was like, "Oh, okay, all right. I don't care that his credit ain't shit. I don't care that he,
Right.
he puts his phone on the table with it facing down so you can't see his stuff.
Right.
But he gives me this good feeling, and I go with it. I think a lot of times we go with our feelings when we don't go with logic. I think that logically sometimes we have to move in the sense of like, is this person going to be good for me 10 years down the line? Is this person going to be good for me 6 months down the line? Or is it just a feeling or something to have in this moment? And I think a lot of times we don't see that, we don't focus on what we should be. We focus on that feeling. Like my ex gave me a great feeling, but I knew it wasn't going anywhere.
We've become a generation of people who need instant gratification. It's like everything is so fast paced and everything is so fast tracked, and a lot of it is centered around, like, not you specifically, but a lot of people. Their ideals of relationships are centered around what they see on social media, what they see with the celebrities, you know what I mean? And so these become um, goals for them in terms of relationships, or, a guideline of what they'll put up with from what they won't put up with. So you'll see someone like Cardi B, who's with, Offset, not even long after they were married and she had the baby, he cheated on her. She accepted it because, her thought process is, well, what am I going to do? Start all over again with somebody else that I don't know, as opposed to just forgiving him and going ahead. And, he's never going to do it again. And now there's a scandal where now he's doing it again. But what's she going to do? She's not going to leave him, right? So it's like, we've set up ourselves to have these ideals and unrealistic expectations of what relationships should be and what relationships should look like, that we're not actually focused on what real relationships are, which is work, which is
Yeah.
doing the work, which is putting in the time, which is putting in the effort, which is getting to actually know that person, not in just the hot and heavy, oh my God, they're a great fuck. Oh my God, they eat pussy great. Oh my God, she sucks dick like a champ. You know what I mean? Oh, she's got like the body of a brick house. Not in those superficial type of ways, but again, can I sit in a room quietly with this person and not feel irritated as fuck?
Yeah.
Can
Facts.
I watch a basketball game without having to, like, cater to this person's need because, for 5 minutes I'm not paying attention to them because I'm doing something that I enjoy doing? How do you find that balance in those relationships? Like I said, everybody wants to be Mr. or Mrs. somebody without doing the work to get there. Everybody wants to be at the end of the journey without actually doing the work through the journey to get to that end point.
Of course. I mean, there was a study done earlier this year about this generation, about how we're the only generation, we're one of the only generations that, happiness is our main focus, right? Or the things that are going to make us happy. My grandmother's generation, my mother's generation, so on and so forth, their focus was, work, and happiness was secondary because, about providing, about, pushing forward in that regard. So I think we spend so much time focusing on the things that are going to make us happy in this moment,
Yes.
to bridge on what you said, that we don't focus on, all right, is this person going to be good for us in like 5 years? Is this person going to be good for us, 10 years from now? When, God forbid, like I could be in my 80s with a beer gut, no teeth and whatever. And will you still care about me then?
Right.
So,
Sorry, just to read some of these comments. Marie Tateta, I don't know if I said your name wrong. I apologize if I did not. And it's not letting me scroll back through the comments, so unfortunately I cannot respond. Oh, hold on. There is no end in a relationship. It's constant work. Interest and happiness change throughout the years. Absolutely. You grow. It's like saying that the same person that you were getting into the relationship should never be the same person that you are 6 months into the relationship, should never be the same person that you are a year into the relationship, should
facts.
never be the same person that you are 5 years into the relationship.
Facts.
Individually, we're forever evolving and growing and learning and changing and hopefully becoming a better version of ourselves. So when you're in a relationship, that same rule fucking applies. And it's like people just don't think that. It's like people think that, we fell in love when we were 18, so we're supposed to be at the same level of love 20 years from now that we were with. No, it's not to say that your love is diminished, but you should have grown past that and evolved into something greater than that. Because when you were 18, you were a kid. You didn't know anything about yourself. You didn't know anything about life. You didn't know anything about each other. You just knew that you had this feeling and you wanted to have this feeling every day and you ran with it. But guess what? That feeling's not going to be there every day. You're going to argue, you're going to fight, you're going to cuss, you're going to disagree, you're going to agree to disagree. You're going to go through spats where maybe a day, you just don't want to talk to the person. I don't want to see you. And then you fall in love all over again. And it's cyclical, but you should never be, if you're still at the same place you were when you guys first got together, you shouldn't be with that person.
No, not at all. I mean, growth should always be happening with someone or without someone. Like the person I am now at 34 is not the same person I was at 24. Yeah, I'm 34. So that you should always be consistently growing. You should always be moving forward as a person. And the beautiful thing about being in a relationship is growing with someone and being able to listen and learn and, become better through that situation with that person. And again, I think some of my mistakes in this year were me forcing it and not letting those situations come naturally. Putting a label on a situation early on when maybe I shouldn't have. Maybe should have waited. Maybe should have let the situation be more than what it is, So I think that's one of the biggest problems this year with people in relationships is them not putting in the time and them not putting in that work. Everything is work. Anything that's worth having, you have to work at.
Yeah.
I
found that a few people, I don't know. I'm nosy, curious, whatever it is. But, there's quite a few people that I follow where, I notice that they get into a relationship. And like I said, you're at least good with keeping your shit off social media. So I commend you for that. But you have people who they want so desperately to post pictures of them booed up with somebody, or they want to, post pictures of the person that they're involved with to say, that's my boo, that's my babe, that's my wifey, that's my husband, that's my whatever. And then, a couple of months after that, I don't see pictures of the person, or the pictures are systematically taken down. They may not say that they're done, but from if they're posting every day and they're booed up with someone every day, then all of a sudden you don't see that person no more, the relationship must up. You know that, right? And so then it's like they go through this pseudo depression where now it's like, oh, love just isn't for me, doomed to be single for the rest of my life, or they have all these cryptic posts that they're posting, or women ain't shit, men are trash, whatever. And then all of a sudden they get into another relationship and now the posts are positive and lighthearted about love, and now they're booed up again, and now all these pictures of the new boo and whatever the case may be. It's like even with that, people aren't taking enough of a break in between to say, okay, that relationship went down in flames. What happened? People are not taking enough time to just even process their own emotions, and just even the shit, or unpacking the shit that happened in the previous relationship, to say that this didn't work for whatever reason. You know what I mean? What was my part in that? People are always so quick to blame the other person and say, well, it was because they didn't give me enough attention, or they didn't spend enough time with me, or they were rushing me and I wasn't right. It's always them. People never take time to actually unpack their own shit to say, what could I have done differently? What could I have done better? What was my part in this? You do, of course, have some relationships where it's one-sided, where one person is just really trash.
No, that's facts.
Right. But for the most part, there's give and take in every relationship, And even if it is that person was trash, you chose that person, not you. But you chose that person, right? So that's something that you need to look at internally to say, why do I keep picking the same type of person? Like, I seem to keep picking the guy that's look really great, has a long full beard, is 6 foot, how much ever, you know, has a great personality and has good sex, but we don't talk. You know, we don't spend time together. We don't have any commonalities, but I like all the physical things about him, you know, but the relationship is trash. But then the next person that you get into is 6 foot something, big and sturdy, has a full beard, wears
Yeah,
glasses, looks just like the last guy that I dated, and the sex is fantastic, but we don't talk, we don't have anything in common, we don't spend time together, yada, yada, yada. That relationship goes down in flames, right? That person is more likely to say, okay, well, you know, oh, it wasn't my fault because I was present and I did everything that I could to keep him. He just wasn't interested. Nah, bitch, you keep choosing the same trash ass person.
exactly. Yeah,
You need to look
exactly.
at your choices.
Yeah. Well, going into what you're saying is sometimes, you know, we can't see things. Like for example, for me, for a portion or for a large portion of this year, I sat down with a therapist every week. Um, and my therapist would sit there and tell me like why are you dealing with this type of person? Well, they actually went deeper into finding out, like, you know, through us talking and through us having those conversations about why I pick a certain type of person. And it's the reason why, you know, now I changed up like how I date people and changed up the type of people I dated because, you know, we all have some issues and we all have been through things in life. You know, my life story is crazy, but everyone's life story got some stuff in it.
Yes,
Um, but it's always important to sit there and sometimes have an outside person who knows what they're talking about.
yes,
Very important. Make sure you talk to someone who knows what they're talking about, and take some of their advice. You know, my therapist told me not to go back with my ex. It would end badly. I didn't listen. I was being hard-headed. I went back. That situation fell apart. You know, sometimes you have to take a step back and focus on the things in first in life that are going to make you happy. Like, for example, photography makes me happy. I love doing photography. It's the reason why I do it. It's not just about the money. It's about me enjoying it as a craft, and it makes me happy, right?
yes.
You focus on things that make you happy, and then you then bring in people who understand the thing that makes you happy and understand how important that is to you, and so on and so forth. It doesn't have to be photography. It could be, you know, you could be a singer. You can be a writer. You can, have a podcast. You can a million different things,
Right.
but you have to find happiness within yourself before you find it in other people. I think we do that a lot. We look for happiness in someone else, and hope hope that their happiness shines on you and makes you feel great. You have to find happiness within yourself before you find it in someone else.
And I talked about this before. That's a serious burden to put on another person to make somebody else responsible for your own happiness. That is a weight that in my life I hope never no one ever puts on me because you're trying to figure out your own self, and it really should be two people coming together. You're happy, they're happy, you're at a place where you're adding value to each other's life, where you're complementing each other's life. You have a lot of people out here who are looking for people to complete them, and that is doomed to failure every single time. You should never place the responsibility of your happiness on anybody but yourself. Like that's just crazy to me, you know? And the other thing is too is like people are dating for superficial reasons as opposed to dating for more meaningful reasons, like you said, like looking at commonalities. Like the physicality of a person is not enough to sustain a relationship.
No,
Good dick, good pussy, and good head is not enough to sustain a relationship,
no,
you know? I know people who have gotten into long-term relationships because when they were down and out, that person took care of them or that person helped to lift them up. And so 4 or 5 years from now, the person who picked you up and lifted you up, yeah, you got married to them because you felt like it was something that you owed them kind of as a thanks, and you fell in love for them for everything that they did for you. But now they're resentful of you because now they're stuck in this situation where, you know, you're better now. There's nothing that they can fix about you because you're growing and developing. So they're looking for the next fixer upper. You have people who choose broken people so that they have something to do.
well, of course, I think, and my therapist told me this is like, you know, broken people like gravitate to broken people at times, and you have to work on yourself and make sure yourself or make sure you as a person is whole before you jump into something else with someone, and take the time. You can't jump into something and, you know, and try to put more into it than what needs. Let it come in time. It's a process. Any relationship that you're going to be in is a process. You know, people force themselves into things so fast. Like you said, I had a close friend of mine who, you know, met a chick. They had great sex. They can sit back and have conversations, and then they jumped right into living together. And then 6 months down the line, the situation completely falls apart. Why? Because they didn't know that person. You have to take the time. In any situation with someone I'm with, or someone I'm talking to, or someone I'm dating, or someone who I'm in a relationship with, I have to take the time to get to know that person. And it might not always be what that person wants to hear, but at the same time, you know, you can't force anything. And you can't, you know, you have to, for me, I'm a big struggle person because I grew up through struggle. And I need to know that if in a situation where I'm struggling, you got my back and vice versa. Right. And that stuff doesn't happen right off the way. Like, shoot, it could be perfect for the first year. It could be perfect for a year and a half. And then the hard times come and that person switch up and that person changes, because a lot of people don't deal with struggle or deal with hard times the same way. But if I would have jumped into, okay, 3 months, wow, she's amazing, let me move in with her, let me put a ring on her finger, and then come to find out, like, oh, wow.
I need my ring back.
Yeah, like, oh man, like, wow, you annoy me. Wow, you know, you pooh. Like, I can't trust that you're gonna hold me down in these situations. Then, you know, you then jumped into a situation and then it faltered and fell apart. Hence me 3 relationships in 1 year. But anyway, yeah.
So Mr. Wright said something that I kind of partially agree with, but I also don't. He said a relationship should happen organically and effortlessly. I agree with the organically part, but I don't agree with the effortlessly part. Relationships are
everything is work. Everything works.
Everything is, there's nothing that is effortless. And if it's like building your craft, it's like building your brand, it's like building a business, it's like studying for an exam, it's like studying for school, it's like learning to ride a bike, learning to drive. Anything that you're trying to do where you're trying to master it, where it's something that you're invested in, it's not effortless. There is nothing that is effortless, especially relationships. Yes, they should happen organically because you shouldn't force them, but there's effort that has to be made, which is consistency, which is communication, which is making an effort to comprehend, which is, making an effort to learn the person. None of that is effortless. All of that shit takes work.
Oh, no, definitely. I mean, but I will say this, what the effortless part should be in the conversations and being able to talk to someone and being able to relate with them and so on and so forth. Those parts should be effortless. Those parts should be effortless. But then I know me personally, being vulnerable is something that, like, some people I've had hard times with, some people I'll just be 100% vulnerable with. That does take work. And it takes work sometimes, but, relationships are work, and getting to know someone is work, and getting to understand someone is work. But, obviously there's going to be the things that are going to keep you there. Like me, I'm really big on conversation. If I can't hold a conversation with you, that's an issue for me. If, if, like, I like intelligent people to be around me. My mother had a doctorate. So for me, I can't be around people who can't comprehend and who can't understand things, fairly well, because it just, I have a boy, his girl, God bless her, she's kind of, she's a little ditzy,
Don't say it. Be gentle.
Little ditzy, but that works for their dynamic and they're happy. And, I can respect it, but the major thing is taking the time for things, taking the time and putting the time into the situation, and not putting a title on something or not jumping into something, letting it grow and getting to truly know a person. Because if you date someone, you see them once a week or once or twice a week, and then, we should move in together. well, you're not around that person enough to know if, if you can live with that person. Just because if you have sex or you've been around someone in a physical way, that don't mean nothing. You gotta put time in. Then 10,000 hours, like I feel you put it with, you put it with, everything else, the math or something.
But it's about finding balance as well. And I think what you're saying is very poignant about if you're only spending 2 days a week with a person, that's not enough time for you to know that you should be living with this person. I have a theory, and I always say to, like, especially young couples or new couples, that talk to me after you guys have had your first argument.
Yeah.
How you recover from your first argument will tell you a lot about the type of relationship that you have. Do you break up after your first argument? Are you guys actually able to have a conversation where you're listening to one another, even if you agree to disagree? Are there points where you can come together and mutually agree on, even if it isn't everything? Is it, I want you to agree with me and this is my way, and you have no say? You know what I mean? Like, those kind of things are very telling, because if you can't recover from an argument, your relationship is doomed, because every argument that you have is going to end up the same way. And you're going to find, like, if you're a person who likes to communicate and talk things out, and that person is a yeller and they're aggressive and physical when they argue, that's going to be a problem. If you're a talker and that person is like, I shut down, I don't want to argue, I don't want to talk about this, let's just make it go away, let's just fucking make things better and never talk about the situation, that relationship is doomed to failure. Sadly, you have a lot of relationships where when the negative things come up, they just want to sweep it to the wayside and not deal with it. They want to fuck you, they want to suck your dick, they want to eat your pussy, they want to go out to eat and go out to a movie and spend time laughing and drinking and doing whatever it is that you do to get back to that happy place without actually dealing with the issues. You have to learn to deal with the issues effectively if you want to move forward. That's number
Big
one.
facts. Big facts.
Yeah, and then the second thing is, Lord, I can't remember what I was going to say. Finding a rhythm and a balance with the person. Again, to a point that you had made, it's not necessarily that, okay, so like if it's you and I, hypothetically, we are both creatives, we are both artists, we are both creative and artists in different ways, but you and I have a respect and appreciation for each other's art. So it's like, I can talk to you about your photography and your career and your goals. You can talk to me about my podcasting and my other business that you know about that we're not going to mention, and that kind of stuff. And so we have a creative connectivity on one level. We are both intellectuals, but it's a situation where I know that if I need to rant about something, I am confident that you will sit and listen to me and try to either you will completely understand or try to the best of your ability to understand with asking questions to fill in the blanks and hear what it is that I'm saying and be able to offer me objective feedback. And if you're not, I feel like you're the person that would say to me, let me think about that and see what I can come up with, and we'll revisit this conversation. For me, I take comfort in the fact of knowing that you've listened to me, that you've heard, and that you're invested in our relationship enough, and we have enough of a balance that I trust you to go away with it and come back to me for us to have a follow-up conversation. People don't take time to find a rhythm and a balance with one another. Even if you don't necessarily have like all common ground, there has to be something that roots you guys together.
Yeah. I mean, I think, and you said this earlier, and I have to agree with that. I think this generation is, let's move so fast. I need it now. I need it right in a second. And that's not reality. Like, everything takes time. Everything, you have to put in the effort. You have to try. You can't just say, oh, I'm gonna be in a relationship tomorrow and it'll be the best in the world. And, it doesn't happen like that. It's not a fairy tale. This is life. You're gonna have ups, you're gonna have downs. One of my favorite scenes in a movie is in this movie Jerry Maguire, where his mentor is telling him, is like, life is all about moments. And in life, your goal should be just to end up with more good moments than bad moments. I'm butchering it, but you want to have more good moments than bad, but you're going to have those bad moments, and you have to know how to handle those bad moments. And that comes from time. That comes from knowing someone. Like, people know when I get quiet, I'm super angry, but that's generally after you know me. If you off the rip, you'll see like if I'm just dating someone in the beginning and they see me get quiet, they might think, oh, he's calm, and he's being very calm, not realizing like, oh, I'm at 99.98 and I'm about to hit 100, and once I hit 100, it's over. Everything's gone, everything's
Right.
done. But you wouldn't know that about me unless we spent time, unless we've had those conversations, unless we've had those, we've been in those moments where, it warranted me to get mad. And you see that. You wouldn't know that, but that comes from time. So I think the biggest issue with relationships this year is people not putting in the time. That's it. People not putting in that time. And then that comes with the communication, that comes with, putting in the work.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is based off of you putting in the effort and you putting in the time to do what you need to do.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Well, I think we're going to wrap up the discussion. I want to thank you so much. I know you had said when we started that this isn't something that you're quite so comfortable doing, but
Oh,
I'm happy that you can pull you out of your shell. You did fantastic. We talked for like a whole 2 hours almost. It's fabulous. What do you mean?
Yeah, no, yeah. I'm going to leave this for the professionals like you. I'm going to be the person in the comments, leaving comments. I think I'm saying that.
I appreciate it. So I need you to let everybody know exactly who you are, what it is that they do, if they're looking for your services or services of the business that you are in, how they can get in contact with you.
First, my name is Don of D.O.N.D Photos, Don of D Photos. I'm a photographer based in the Bronx, New York. I do portraits. Matter of fact, anything photography related I do. You can DM me. I am sorry, I am not the greatest person when it comes to DMs or responding as fast as I should.
Knows.
Yeah, I'm not the greatest. But, you can hit me through a DM. My numbers actually was probably bad, but it's in my Instagram. If you want to text me or give me a call. If you call me, leave a message because I don't pick up numbers I don't know. So, but yeah, I believe that photography is about capturing moments and telling stories. And that's something I really pride myself on being able to do. And if you're interested, hit me up. D.O.N.D Photos. Sorry, it's an acronym. There's a few dots in there, but
That's okay. They'll find
yeah.
you. And I can attest that he is absolutely amazing, not just because he's my friend, but he does, like, long before we became friends, when we first worked together, his eye is just amazing. And if you're on his page and you see his work, like, not even just the portraits of people, like even the scenery that you capture, it's just very breathtaking. Very, very
Well,
breathtaking, very artistic and very creative.
thank you. I appreciate that. Again, one of my slogans is, I'm just the guy behind the camera. My focus is mainly upon the subject and the client. I want to make sure the client is happy with the work that I give them. And, it's not about me. I keep myself humble so I can make you look great, if that makes sense, so.
It does. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate you indulging me in these two discussions. It was great. I enjoyed having you on. Hopefully you'll come back at some point and join me again.
So yeah, I'm very thankful. I'm very thankful for you sharing your platform with me. You're amazing. I'm so proud of the work that you're doing this year. You've
You make me
taken a step
soggy.
out.
I'm gonna
Huh?
need 5 minutes with you if you make me
No,
soggy. Don't do
no,
it.
no, no, no. I'm just saying you took a bad situation and you made it to something great. And that's what makes you an amazing person, because at the end of the day, you don't let things hold you down. You see it, you step over it, and you keep moving forward. And you're going to continue to move forward and be great at the things that you're great at. So I appreciate you. Thank you kindly. And, okay.
Oh, I appreciate that. You see, I requested 5 minutes and you turned me down because what? You only fight guys? I know I'm smaller than you, like
Wait,
height
hold
wise.
on. Yes, I only fight guys. Well, I would never fight. I would never fight girl. Never fight girl. Hold on. Only fight guys.
What if I fight you?
Pause.
2 rounds, 5 minutes. Come on, you can manage. I'm just joking.
Yeah.
I know.
Old man
Okay.
here. I'm old man. You see the grays in my beard. Old man over here. Stop.
Is that what's happening? Ah, Well, for anyone who has, well, if you've missed the live, this part of the conversation would make sense. Anyhow, the lives will be posted. If you join the second one but missed the first one, they'll both be posted on my YouTube channel, which is the Pum Pum Chronicles podcast. That is also the name of my podcast. This has been another segment of Wet Wednesdays, which I do every Wednesday, 9 p.m. I think next week, in lieu of Christmas coming, I might do a Super Soaker edition.
Hmm.
Yeah. I think I'm going to do talk about a toy or two, do a demo or two. We'll see how that goes. But, I always let y'all know what we're going to be talking about, so we'll see. I would love to do a live demonstration, but I know that would get me in all kind of problems. So, yeah, we'll just stick to it now. But anyways, that's us. Thank you to everyone who joined in, everyone who participated. I always love the conversation in the feed because it's not just about interacting with us. You guys are interacting with one another, which is the ultimate goal, and I'm so happy for that. I'm happy for the social media relationships that have been formed, and not just with myself, but within the groups of people who chat amongst us. For the crazies who request to see my boobs and all that other stuff, yeah, y'all can keep asking. It's just never happening in life. I gave somebody an opportunity once, and he completely flaked. That would have been great for everyone, but he decided not to take one for the team. But it is what it is. So, you were there. Were you there that night?
Oh yes, I was there, and I'm like, yo, bro.
Everyone is really waiting for the guy to turn the lights on. They're like, yo, man, turn the lights on so we can get a show. But you didn't want
just a flick of the wrist would have made everyone's night. A flick of the wrist. But
it is what it is. So what are you going to do for the rest of the night? Are you up? Are you out?
I'm going to be up because I'm going to be editing pictures. Because I have about 100 pictures I need to edit tonight. Okay. So I'm not going to be sleeping. I ain't going to be sleeping. I need to get some sleep because I have a call time at 7:30 in the morning to do a shoot, which that should be.
I will say that when we met, to where you were as a photographer to where you are now, leaps and bounds. And I know I had suggested something to you then about entering this contest and you weren't comfortable, and we had talked about 10,000 hours, I think it is. 10,000 hours to greatness, I call it. But your journey has been so amazing, and being able to witness you grow as a photographer, grow as a man, just grow individually. Just even conversationally, how more comfortable you are in talking than you were when I first met you over a year ago. Yeah. Absolutely amazing. And
I thank you. I always thank you for the opportunity, because a lot of people, especially when someone is starting out or someone is is learning, they're not so forthcoming with giving up their time, and you did, and I always will always appreciate you for that. Thank you. You gave some guy in the Bronx an opportunity to shoot you, and I'm glad that you were able to do that and see something in me that I didn't maybe even see in myself at the time. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean that's a whole other conversation, but I don't trust a lot of people, especially when it comes to taking pictures of me, and sometimes working with photographers is a little weird because they want to sometimes pass their place and then have to reel up people and cause too bad word dancing and tell them too dirtiness. Yeah. But your level of integrity, and I say this in the most respectful way, for a young man of your age, your level of integrity is wonderful and refreshing, because a lot of the photographers are really lecherous. Yes. And all they want to see is some boobs and some ass and maybe some pum pum if they're lucky.
Yeah. That's one of my main rules, is not to date the models and not to date the clients, and it's something I try my hardest to maintain, because at the end of the day, we're here for the art. We're not here for anything else but the art. I'm here to capture these moments so that you have for a lifetime. Because, when I think of my grandmother's house before she passed, God rest the dead, she had pictures, and those pictures were capturing moments from a lifetime. My grandmother died at 94 years old.
Oh, she had a long, fulfilled life.
Yeah, she literally seen people hanged, into seeing a black president.
Nice.
That like you can't. That's amazing. That's like mind blowing to me. So, but remembering her being able to see all these pictures and all those things being captured, and me wanting to do that, is just amazing. So, but again, this is about you. It's not about me.
Nice. It's
You're
about us.
amazing. Yeah. So
I'm gonna log off because we're gonna run out of time anyways, and we're not gonna like do the timeout. But yeah, as I said, these the videos will be posted on my YouTube channel, and I'm gonna make like shorter captions and do the thing that I do so that people know to come look for us and come listen to
yes.
our discussion. So that's it. I bid everyone a good night for whoever is left here listening to us talk and ramble. I hope that everyone has a great night. Rest well. Have fun editing. I'll
Oh
be
yeah.
up if you need a conversation or
Yeah.
distraction.
Thank you again for having me. Thank you guys for not being so mean in the comments. And yeah, have a good night,
Okay.
everyone.
All right.